Hi, I am so pleased to welcome Sheila Roberts to our next Fresh Fiction Video Book Club. I'm Samantha T, and we have lots to talk about with Sheila's latest book for tonight, The Merry Matchmaker, which is a bit of an Emma remake or adaptation, inspiration, but it will definitely get you into the mood as we come up on the different holiday seasons. So, Sheila, it is so good to see you again.
It is so fun to be back. I just love the Fresh Fiction gang. And you girls, I tell you, I want to know your beauty secrets because you all look like you're 30. And I'm like, okay, share. You got to share. I tell you, I can't keep up with you. But anyway,
Good
it's
camera
wonderful
filters.
to
Good
be here.
camera filters. That's what it is. Sheila, for some of our new to you readers and listeners, let's start off with an easy question because you have so many different books in print. I mean, you've written almost 50 of them and you've sold millions worldwide. Let's tell our readers a little bit about you and how did you first get started writing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, now I've actually crept over 50 if you count. I'm like Cher, I just keep inventing myself. So I've been around since dust and I've written everything from work for hire books or write for hire to devotionals to nonfiction to of course fiction. And I just love writing. But before I became a writer, an official writer, I was always writing as a kid and I think I'm the only kid who told herself her own bedtime stories. How weird is that? But anyway, before I became a writer, though, I really wanted to be a songwriter. That was my thing. And I spent a small fortune on trips to Nashville and song demos and all kinds of things. And that door just never quite opened. And I couldn't get my husband to move the whole family to Nashville with nobody having a job because Sheila wants to become a famous songwriter. Then I, on a fluke, sold my first book. And my husband said, why don't you just be a writer because you're actually making money at that? That was how that went. But I still off and on over the years have dabbled. And if you ever go on YouTube and look up Merry Christmas Mama, you'll see we did a really fun music video for my book. It was an older book, Christmas one, Merry Xmas. And that was really fun. I got hauled off by Santa Claus. And anyway, so that was a song that I had a chance to write. And I've had a few little successes along the way, but I think you end up where you're supposed to be. So I think I'm supposed to be a writer.
Okay, even if you were starting out that your initial dream was to write songs, each song ideally is its own
It is. Yes, it is.
minuscule story, right? I mean,
More
you have
compact,
beginning, middle,
very,
end, kind of conflict.
very
So,
compact, and things need to rhyme in a certain pattern. And it's definitely people talk about how tough the writing business is, but the music business is 10 times tougher. And especially my genre that I loved was country music. And really, to be that kind of writer, you really have to be down there and be part of the gang. And I'm just a Northwest girl, and so trips down to Nashville. I go down and meet people, and then I come back here, and then I go, oh, now I got to start all over again. So the beauty with writing is nobody cares where you live, and if people like a good story, then you're good to go. So I'm very happy with how things worked out, actually.
how do you come up with the inspiration behind your different stories?
They just vary. Sometimes things will just pop into my head. The story I tell everybody, the big joke, when I did years ago, the book that kind of put me on the map was On Strike for Christmas. And I actually wrote that because my husband was not having a proper attitude about getting to hang out with my big, noisy, obnoxious family for the holidays. We had just done Thanksgiving. I'm like, wasn't that fun? He's, yeah, we got to do it all again at Christmas. I said, you have a bad attitude. I'm going to put you in a book. And of course I did. And then it became a movie. And so really that big punishment, my husband backfired. But so that was a real life thing. Sometimes you'll read things online or in a story and think, oh, that's a good idea. When I did The Nine Lives of Christmas, that just popped in my head. I was thinking about my all-time favorite movie is still, I have a lot of favorites. My still favorite is It's a Wonderful Life. And all of a sudden I got to thinking about this scene where George Bailey is on the bridge. He's going, please God, I want to live again. And I thought, what if that was a cat? What if he was on his last life? What would that turn out like? And then that, of course, turned into a book featuring a matchmaking cat. I don't know, maybe matchmaking is my thing. I'm a matchmaker wannabe, but I'm not very good at it, so I've given up.
But what is it also about Christmas? Because I've read so many of your Christmas and holiday books. You write non-Christmas books too, but I know I can always look forward to your holidays and they bring that joy and that level of comfort. What is it for you to write so many of these different types of novels.
Thank you. Christmas is my favorite holiday. And I just love the message of hope behind it. There's hope for mankind, joy to the world, the Lord has come. And the everything from the gatherings to the fun foods to the festivity to just the celebrating the whole thing of the season. And I think there are always there's always a story lurking somewhere in the holidays. Anytime you're gathering families or people, there's going to be a story. This one is number 18 for me. I've written a couple ones under different names, but I was just tallying up and I thought that's pretty good. My perfect world, I'd like to get to 20 before I give up on Christmas books. We'll see if that happens.
I have no doubt you will be hitting that 20 mark for the Christmas stories, definitely.
You never know.
But this one is also so fun because it is Christmas, but you, like you were saying, that you love to be a matchmaker. This kind of combines both of those. And again, matchmaking type stuff can have sometimes hilarious results. And again, like Emma, everything does not quite run smoothly for Frankie in this one as the matchmaker. And before we get into the story itself, okay, since you already admitted to being a matchmaker at heart, what are some of the foibles that you've had and encountered as trying to be a matchmaker?
I thought I was so good at it because back in high school, I matched up with my girlfriend with a really sweet little guy who actually had the hots for me, but I wasn't so hot for him. And I thought these two would be good. And they didn't end up getting married or anything, but that lasted all through high school. So I felt pretty proud of myself. But then I did another match and that was a disaster. And that was when my husband said, would you quit meddling in people's lives? This is not a good idea, dear. And so I thought, yeah, maybe it isn't, but you just want to help. And I hate to see a single man with no woman in his life to make it better, right? That's a waste of man. So they need a woman, right? And so it's very hard to not try to jump in. And of course, at this point in life, everybody's pretty much matched up that we know. So there isn't as much meddling available to me. And maybe that's not a bad thing.
And again, for this particular story, one of the things that I really liked is it is older characters. What was the idea behind that? Because, and I have to admit, first reading it, that Frankie is feeling it because she's about to turn 50. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. It's okay. Wait a second. I'm not feeling old. What's going on? But I'm enjoying finding these stories where they are, I don't like to say older, but where I guess they are more mature, not exactly in the first blush. I mean, and so was that an intentional thing in combining all these and again with the matchmaker element?
I thought that would be fun. I really do, in a lot of my books, try and do multi-generational casts because I think for us as women, most of us do have friends in different age brackets. I think it's a lovely thing if you can have friends who are older and friends who are younger, as well as the same age, because each generation brings something to the party. And so I like when I did the Best Life Book Club, that was a multi-generational group of friends, and they were all able to help each other. And so with this, of course, I had Frankie as my centerpiece. And again, yeah, I'm getting old thing, and then her mom, and then her daughter, and then her younger sister. So it was nice to have a variety of ages and a variety, and then of course her little employee Eleanor, but a variety of ages all working together and befriending each other. And it's funny, the age thing. I don't really feel old until I look in the mirror. Then I'll, but in the inside, I tell people it's like when you start, in your 20s, you're driving around in a Maserati, and pretty soon the Maserati turns into, I don't even know, something a little not Maserati. And then when you get to be about my age, you're like driving around in a clunker and you're like, how did I get this? Because inside the clunker, I'm still Maserati girl. The whole aging thing, I like that. I feel like we're coming into our own more with women, no matter what your age, it doesn't matter. People are happy to hear what you have to say. And I think that's not a bad thing. It's nice that we can honor our older women, and it's great that we can appreciate our lovely, dewy-eyed, youthful women too, because they bring an energy and hopefully we bring some wisdom, and that makes a good mix.
And again, because of the spin and the comparisons for this novel with Emma, that's always, or at least the adaptations I've read and seen, it is more the younger characters, and it's almost like they just don't know any better. And so, how much was Emma an influence for you, or was it more of an inspiration when you were pulling all of these different aspects together in this book?
I came up with the idea And this woman who's just thinks she knows what's right for everybody romantically except for herself. And I thought, oh my gosh, who does that remind me of? And of course, I must be a minority. I'm a big Jane Austen fan. She was one of my, I was reading Jane Austen way back when I was a sweet young thing. And I love that time period and I just love her. But I thought that was like the case with Emma. She really was clueless, like the movie, but she didn't really know anything or what was best for anybody. And in the process of helping someone, she almost helped herself out of being with the person she was supposed to be with. And I just thought, oh, that is a little bit like Frankie. She's just so busy thinking she knows what's right for everybody that she's about to ruin her own life. And of course, this particular character, she was widowed, a little bit young, and just thinks she's never going to find true love. So she may as well make it work for everybody else. And maybe there's a little bit of a lesson in there too, because we have some second chance romances. And you know what? You're never too old to fall in love.
I think that's one of the messages that we always like when we are reading these stories. So that element of hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter
Mm-hmm.
what has gone through, it's like in the challenges that you've had, there's still the hope that there's something else out there for you in these types of different relationships.
Absolutely. And to wrap it up with the holidays, that just makes it special. And I like small towns. I like small town settings. We live in, it's not really a town, it's a city, but we also have a little beach place in a small town. And I like that so many of the people there. And I just like the feel of a small town, not so much traffic, and you're not sitting in traffic all day. And I like that. There's just something to be said for small towns. And of course, when you create a town, you just can design it however you want. And the town of Carroll was actually a town I lifted from a book I'd written years ago. It's still out there as an ebook called A Carol Christmas. And I thought, I think I'll just recycle the town of Carroll because that was a cool town. It's fun. Small towns and made up towns, you can just go anywhere and do anything. So that's fun.
And don't you feel sometimes the small town aspect, the town itself becomes its own character in the
Mm.
book, and then you're able to also craft other really unique secondary characters throughout the story too.
Yeah, I agree. And it's when you're in charge of the town, when I did my town of Icicle Falls, that was actually based on Leavenworth, Washington, which is a cool German themed town. People come from all over the world to that place now, especially at Christmas, because they light it up like a snow globe. But that one I took inspiration for a town, but I added, even with that, I made it a different, I made it Icicle Falls, and it had a chocolate factory because every town should have a chocolate factory. That's what
Oh,
I
I
think.
can back that. Yeah, definitely. Since you were revisiting Carroll as a town, did you find that you had to go back and research your own book again to make sure that you were pulling in the right aspects and that you didn't move like the post office to the wrong side of town, or that now all of those different traffic patterns? Or was it like, hey, enough time has passed that things could have moved?
Things can change because that was written a while back. But I did go back and reread the book and say, okay, what are some things I want to make sure I keep in this version? Yeah, there are some things there. One of my favorite restaurants in that book made it into this book, and so there are a few things I added. Their little Santa Walk, their Christmas festival. That's something new that our hero has started, and every town should have a Christmas festival, I think.
Well, and also because scattered throughout your other books and for previous interviews, we've had your husband pop in after he's done various baking experiments, and you've shared with us virtually, granted, would have been better in person, virtually, the various cookies and krugels that he has baked. So again, how about putting those different personal touches into your books? Do you try to put in some of those types of Easter eggs in a way of people are like, hey, I know this is a Sheila Roberts book because we've seen some.
There are a few little Easter eggs. And Gerhard, he is a good sport. He's done a lot of things on social media with me, and he puts up with a lot and goes through a lot. And whenever possible, he travels with me. And in fact, I'll tell you my story here. I had a doctor's appointment quite a little ways away because we have moved from the original small town we were in. And there had been an accident on the highway. Nobody was hurt, I think, but it clogged up traffic, snarled forever. And I called your and said, okay, if I'm not back on time, you're going to have to put on the Santa hat and you are going to have to be me until I get home. He was willing, he was ready, but I think he was very relieved that I got home in time and he did not have to wear a Santa hat and talk about the book. Even though he's read it, I think he would have been pretty stressed, but he's always there ready when I need him in a pinch.
Since he has read the book, do you bounce ideas off of him as you're in the writing process, or is that more of an after the fact or during editing or?
I do. He has helped me brainstorm books before. He helped me brainstorm The Nine Lives of Christmas, and he reads my manuscripts. He's like a pre-editor before it goes to my editor, because I got to tell you guys, I know if you read a Sheila book, you're bound to find a mistake in there. A character's name will accidentally get transposed to a different character. And I got to tell you, in case you don't know, we look over these, our editor looks over these, a copy editor looks over these. Everybody is looking these manuscripts, and eventually your eyes just drift over boo-boos. And so I apologize. I'll tell you my funniest story ever of a boo. And this was years ago. I probably shared this with you guys before. If I have, I apologize. But I wrote a book called Small Change, and it was about women dealing with finance problems and learning how to manage their money better. And I got an email from a reader one time. One of my characters, I think her name was Rebecca, and she was an only child. But a reader emailed and said, Sheila, I'm a little confused. On one page, Rebecca has a deadbeat sister, and on another page, she's an only child. Somehow, along the way in the manuscript, I made a change and nobody caught it. And I said, what can I say? She bumped off her sister. It's just, what can you do? So that was one of my more embarrassing. And the sad thing is with most of these mistakes, and readers are very kind, they'll usually email me and say, I saw this or I saw that. And I try to forward those to my editor for if there's a future printing. But sadly, usually once you've made a boo, it is just stuck there. And so it's just onward and upward.
But also as a reader on some of this, like you said, things happen and you catch them. But sometimes it's also the element of, oh, okay, caught that one. And it almost becomes almost a special book in a way. It's like what is it, the Christina Dodd one where there's an extra arm on the
Oh, I
cover,
remember that where the cover, the guy had 8 arms or something on there,
right?
wasn't that? Yeah, collectible. Then maybe at some point I'll have to do a bloopers, a little document and say, okay, guys, or have a contest. How many bloopers can you find in Sheila's books? Oh my goodness. And all expense paid trip to Walmart. I don't know.
How do you get in the right mood for when you're writing, especially when you're writing Christmas and holiday books? Because you're not writing them during Christmas. These are books that you've got to write
Yeah.
before, so we're ready for them.
You're right. You're always working ahead of yourself. And I think with most writers, because we live in our little pretend world here, it's really easy. You just, once it is for me anyway, once I jump into that world and get in the zone, I'm just there and I'm just gone. So I know a lot of writers like to set the mood with a candle or special music. I can't play music unless it's instrumental, because I'll just start singing along and then I'm not writing because I'm busy getting into I do that too at line dancing. I love to go line dancing, and they'll start playing a song I love and I'm singing away. All of a sudden it's like, wait, whoa, I'm doing the wrong step. So if I were listening to a song or something while I was writing, that would be a disaster. So for me, I just jump in, and once the fingers are going and the words are showing on the page, then I'm just gone and I'm in that story. So for me, it's not a problem to jump in.
Okay. Sheila, I want to switch over to what we call our Fresh Fiction Facts, a series of rapid fire questions, hopefully answered off the top of your head. And I
Oh,
have
no.
new questions since last time, okay?
Okay.
Because I don't want to give you repeat questions.
Oh,
I
no,
mean,
that would be terrible.
that would be terrible. You can't be prepared for these things at all. What is the motto that you live by? And I didn't say these were going to be easy.
No, that's not. But you know what? Especially as I'm getting not quite 30 anymore, as I'm getting older, my motto is if you're still here, you're here for a reason. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, because we all have a purpose in life. We are all put here with special gifts and talents. And I would like to encourage all of you out there to make sure, if I know you've got them, so make sure you put them to use. Somebody will benefit from your gift, whether that is writing special notes to people, baking cookies, writing a book, writing a song, whatever, organizing things for people. There is something we all can do to help make this world a better place.
Would you rather go back in time and meet your ancestors or go forward and meet your descendants?
Maybe back in time. I'm scared to go forward. I don't know what they'll do. It would be fun. We have some very interesting little skeletons in our family closet, and that might be very interesting to meet some of them. Yeah, I think back in time, but with modern, if I can bring all my little modern things with me and
Oh, of
make sure
course,
that I have
definitely.
my flu shot and all that stuff, then I go back in time.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Anytime we've talked about things like that, what would be your favorite era in history to visit? It is always you have to be able to go back where you don't have to worry about body odor. You need to be able to have a toothbrush.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
our perfect world, these are things that are going to have to go back also.
That's right. If I went back, I would love, I love the Regency era. So I would love to go back to Regency England, but I wouldn't want to be a peasant. I'd want to be nobility, and I'd want all the drugs and things. I want to take all that along so that if I had a child, I didn't have to have natural childbirth. So that would be a great time to go back to, as long as I could bring all my modern conveniences with me.
What is one thing that you think was ruined once it became popular?
Gosh. That's a good question. You know what? I think sometimes that happens with places. For a while, there are a lot of magazines and online that have the 5 best places in the world to live, and they're cute and they're small and they do this and they that. But then everybody flocks to them, and all of a sudden, you tend to lose the flavor of that place. And so I think sometimes if you get too popular in a place, it loses its flavor, and I think that can ruin a certain feel for different towns. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I think.
Who was your favorite comedian when you were growing up?
Wow. Steve Martin. Except I wasn't totally growing, I was half grown by the time I saw Steve Martin. But I just think he's brilliant. I love Steve Martin. That's probably comes right at the top of my head. Love him.
Who is an author that you just have to read all of their published work?
I have discovered a new writer. I've got to contact someone and say, help me pronounce your name properly. Kyra Rauda, Rouda. And she writes, what do they call those? Psychological thrillers? Thrillers. Anyway, way back when I was being taught as a writer, your hero and your heroine, they should all be likable, and you don't want to write despicable people. And her books are full of despicable people, and everything there's a turn and a twist. And I just can't, I gobble those up like candy. I can hardly wait to see what happens next because there's always an interesting twist. So she is an auto buy for me. I'm also a Grisham junkie. And of course, I have so many friends who are writers that they're all fabulous. And I tell you what, I'm going broke supporting all my friends. But if I list them, I know I'll leave somebody out. But I have so many women who write in the romance and women's fiction arena, and they're just fabulous writers. I am kept very busy.
As a writer, what is the one thing that will pull you out of a story when you're writing and also when you're a reader?
When I'm reading, grammar. And we don't call, I don't, editors, I guess nobody really has time to catch that. What really bothers me if you mix past and present tense in a sentence. She did this because she hates onions. That's did and hates all in one. And so every time that gets mixed, I'm just like, ah. So then I'm, no, never mind, just read the story. But that just drives me nutty. And I try not to do that myself. I'm sure I have done it on occasion, but I really try to watch for it because it just, I'm like, my goodness, we as writers, we should have good grammar. So I would love it if we would have better guardians at the gate for our grammar as writers. But sadly, we don't. Everybody's so darn busy and juggling so many things to do and so many writers. Things slip by.
What is your most dog-eared or repeat book that you keep going back to, either for reference or for sheer enjoyment?
I have to think about that. Probably besides the Bible, huh? I can't, actually, I can think of one. And this is, again, if you're not Regency buffs, but Georgette Heyer. And she wrote a book called The Masqueraders that I read when I was young. And I still will go back and read that. I don't know how many times. I just love that. And okay, don't hate me, guys. Jane Austen. What did I say? I love Jane Austen. Oh dear. So I'm sorry about that. Hmm.
Okay, it's okay. That's fine. Don't worry.
Sorry.
Um, what is something then that on the flip side with what movie is most people think is actually terrible, but it doesn't matter because you still love it and will watch it over and over again.
Gosh, I don't worry too much about what things people think are terrible because I love them. One of my favorites is still the remake of Sabrina, the one that had Harrison Ford. I love
Yeah,
that
you mean
movie. I love
yeah.
that movie. And one that I don't like, can I share that? No offense to the people who made that movie, but I am not a fan of You've Got Mail because I know it had our favorite stars in it, but I didn't like the fact that the hero was not able to somehow help her save her bookstore. They put her out of business, and I thought, I don't like this. This is not very heroic. Surely he could have helped her find some way. Maybe he couldn't, but that didn't set well with me because it didn't feel very romantic. So that's probably one of my not favorite movies. So I'm probably a minority because I know a lot of people love You've Got Mail.
Do you like the previous versions of that film? It's a bit like The Shop Around the Corner and
Yes, with Jimmy Stewart. Yes, that old original one. That was really sweet. And yeah, it was a different deal. Nobody was putting anybody out of business in that. And they were people who they didn't an enemies to lovers kind of thing. They didn't think they liked each other, but really when they shared and were able to share without all the background noise, it turned out that they had quite a lot in common. That's a charming old movie, you guys, if you ever get a chance to watch it. It's really sweet. And I think you can't go wrong with a Jimmy Stewart movie anyway. I love
and
those
then they
old.
also did a remake with Judy Garland and Van Johnson, which I think was a musical then.
Oh, I never saw that. I didn't even know about that. I will have to check that
Of
out.
course, the title of it is escaping me. Christmas themed book. What is your favorite holiday tradition?
Oh, wow. That would probably be the big noisy annual family gathering on Christmas Eve. It's just so much fun. It's like out of a Hallmark movie, really. I'm not sure how that got started. Turkey and noodles. For some reason, that's the main dish, and then everything spreads out from there. So we've got that. We must sing Christmas carols. That has to happen. Somebody must read the Christmas story from the Bible. And then we must play games because life is all about fun and games for Sheila anyway. And so there's always, and I'll show you the favorite game. We're on our fourth generation of playing this game now. It's called, we've changed it to Christmassy something they have to say, I forget, or something, but it was originally called Ducky Wucky. Have you ever heard of Ducky Wucky?
Oh,
It's the stupidest game, but it's just silly and fun. So you're all sitting in a circle, guys, and you have one poor schlub who's blindfolded in the middle, and no hands, no touchy. They have to censor bun their way and sit on somebody's lap, and they will say "ducky wucky," and the person they're sitting on has to say "quack" and disguise their voice so that they can't recognize who it is. And if they don't recognize it, they gotta make a fool out of themselves again. And so you go around and round, and eventually, if the person is not doing well, you let them off the hook. But we play that every year. That one. And we also play, the one where you have prizes in different like coffee cans or things, and they're all duct taped together. And you have to try and get them off either wearing an oven mitt or something that's going to make it so you can't get them. I'm sure you've done that. And the person you're trying to unwrap it, and meanwhile, the person is rolling the dice and they have to come up with an even number and then they can take a try. And oh my gosh, my family, they go berserk over that game. You'd think we were in Vegas. And we did one, I'll share one more, you guys, because this will get you ready for Christmas. The other thing we would do was musical chairs. And so we're all around the chairs, and I would hide little presents under different chairs. And so the goal is to try and sit on a chair where there's a present. And of course, you get down to the last chair, and things get a little wild and competitive. Somebody at one point was actually dragging the chair with them, which is not right, but that was what was happening. And so you can see we get a little crazy at the holidays, but it's very fun.
see, a very enthusiastic crowd.
We are, what can I say?
What is it that you're working on now? What can readers look forward to?
I'm actually working ahead to next fall. Next fall will not be a Christmas book. It's going to be something a little different, and we'll see. I'm having fun writing it, so I hope people are going to have fun reading it. We shall see.
And with that, then where is the best place for our readers and listeners to keep up with you and find out what's going on, latest happenings?
You guys, I am just everywhere. I'm on Facebook, of course, and I'm on Instagram and TikTok. The handle is either Sheila Roberts Writer or Fun with Sheila, depending on where you're looking for me, because it's all about. And speaking about fun, could I make a really quick plug for this coming November? Rianne Thane and myself and Nancy Nagel will be wandering around loose in Florida and South Carolina. And so if you go on my Sheila's Place website, there should be Sheila sightings should be there. Or if you want more information, you can just message me on one of those social medias or email me at SheilaRoberts@SheilasPlace.com and I'll give you deets. So it's going to be fun. Oh,
See,
fun.
I'm
You
giving
see a
you this
theme
look
here.
because that is a dangerous trio right there. I just saw Nancy last weekend, seen Rayanne. The three of you, I think trouble will probably ensue.
I hope so. It's going to be delightful. Rianne will have to miss our last little appearance because, of course, with Captain Awesome, she can't be away from home too long. But I'm very excited to be spending some time with these ladies and meeting some of my viewers in the South. I'm going to finally get to see poor Beaufort. Hopefully, there's some of it left. I'm going to get a chance to visit Beaufort and Columbia and Fernandina Beach and Hilton Head, and so I'm looking forward. And I've never been to Hilton Head. I always thought that would be a fun place to visit. So I'm excited.
Oh yeah, it'll be a blast, without a
Fun.
doubt. Yes. Sheila, it was so good to see you again. Thanks for joining the Fresh Fiction Video Book Club, but stick around for the happy hour with our readers.
Thanks so much. I just love you guys.